Damon mediation. It's been a day today. So, attachments. Now, someone was asking me about attachments and how you get rid of them, and I wanted to, sorry I'm laughing because I've done this video so many times and it's not worked. I wanted to have a quick discussion on it. I might end up having to do a few videos on it, but attachments, when we talk about attachments, majority of people are talking about non-physical entities that are attached, yeah, I did that, to a person, and we really shouldn't have those type of energetic connections, and they are essentially parasitic. So they are draining us, or they are attracted to us because they can get something out. Now, when I talk about they are negative because of that, but it doesn't mean they're malicious, and I'll separate that out, because if they have not moved on, whatever you believe moved on is, if they are not in the process that you have after you die and you move on to different states and different processes, if they aren't, and they're kept to the earth, connected to the earth where they shouldn't be, and they have no body, then there is going to be an issue because they are separated, and so they have no real body to sustain them. So therefore, that is why they are looking for something to sustain them. That's where they can become malicious, because they are essentially fighting for survival, making sure that they survive. And that is the reason why, one of the reasons why it is very important that you understand that what attachments are. Another thing that is important to understand is that they can influence your decision making. They're going to influence you on so many different levels, and you're not conscious of that. So if you think about how we are influenced, we're influenced by friends, we're influenced by media, we're influenced by our environment around us, but we have a certain level of consciousness about that. We know what we're reading and where we're getting our information from influences and informs our decision, but this is an invisible influence. So that is where it's not good for us, because we are not fully in charge of ourselves, and that's never going to be good. So hopefully that clears up a little bit. If you want more information and me to go in more in depth, because this is quite a light for you, because I haven't got a lot of time right now. So they, as I said, they're parasitic. They are looking for something from you, which means that they are looking for a particular type of person, or a person who's in a particular state to attach to. Now, the reason why I say this, because is a lot of the times when people think that this is not finger pointing, this is literally a sense of this is what they are looking for. They are looking for usually something where they can get vitality, they can get energy from, because that's where they're being degraded. They don't have a body, they're looking for a host, which makes it sound a bit like Alien. But they want to connect to you, usually because they need that energy, and that's one of the reasons. Now, and I did say in this video, but I realised that I've dealt with attachments, I've dealt with energies trying to attach to me. I've dealt with getting rid of attachments for others, both positive, both successful and not so successful, and also I've seen people who love their attachments and go around bragging around them, but I don't agree with those ones. Now, when I said about the ones that worked and the ones that didn't, the factor that changed from successful to not is the fact that it has to be that person ready to let go of it. And the person I was working with didn't want to let go of it, because she was very comfortable in her victim status of poor me, victim and martyr status, poor me, and this gave her the reassurance in some ways that she could hold on to it, because it's very much like that whispering kind of devil on your shoulder. Yes, you deserve to do this. Yes, the world is against you, and all of these things. And that was her choice, unfortunately. So I couldn't do anything beyond it. And the reason why I state that is because it is a choice. There is it is there's consent. There is an entity can't attach to you unless you allow them to attach to you, and that can be conscious or subconscious or unconscious in the way that they attach to you. But there is a level that you are consenting. It could be the fact that in some ways, like when you don't say no, someone assumes you mean yes. Now, in general, it's they look for the vulnerable because they are looking for something. They're parasitic, they need energy, so therefore they're looking for a host to give them that energy. So they might try lots of different people, but you have to be vulnerable to them. We're all vulnerable in vulnerable states at various points in our lives, whether that is through depression or other mental illnesses, whether it's just whether it's through grief or whether it's through other losses, or all of these things, illness as well. All these things mean that we are less than at 100%. And it can mean the fact that we don't notice so much, we're not as aware. Because the thing is, if you're aware, and when I'm talking about aware, I'm not talking about that whole kind of like spiritual badge, oh look, I'm more aware than you. I'm talking about just knowing what is you and what's not you. Because if you know what's not you, you can go, yeah, back off. I said I'd had entities try to attach to me, mainly because of some of the work I do. And I've just known it's not me, and I know something's trying to, that's not right, and I don't like it, and I push back. Now, if a lot of people do this who aren't in the spiritual sphere, because remember, this is not just a spiritual problem, then they do this kind of unconsciously. They kind of know, actually, I'm not feeling right, let me go and get this sorted. And this is often attachments and entities they're a bit like the kind of devil and angel on your shoulder. It feels like you're getting knowledge and insight, or they're supporting you. As I said, the woman who didn't want to get rid of her attachments was, even when she was made aware, is because they gave her reinforcement. Now, if it's also might feel that it's your own inner voices as well, which can cause confusion. So at various points in our lives where we perhaps are a little bit too tired. I saw one entity try and attach to a young mother who had just been, her baby was fairly young, she wasn't sleeping, she was tired, and actually, she was working herself to a bone. Now, you wouldn't turn around and say, oh, well, she's stupid then. You just say, well, actually, she was vulnerable. So let's remember, when we're talking about vulnerability, we're talking about some people are very vulnerable without boundaries, and some people are vulnerable in that moment. And we're all vulnerable at certain moments. So that is the reason why an entity is looking for a host. It's away from its body, it needs something. It needs a host, it needs energy, because it's still connected to the earth, and therefore it should have moved on. Now, moving on is whatever you believe on. In an energetic sphere, it could be many different things. You will have physical symptoms, and the most important one is fatigue. And we're all tired at times, but it will become more and more. And then there will be the fact that you might feel that you're getting certain insights. And as I said, the angel and the devil on your shoulder, it could be the fact that you feel like it's a connection that you want because it's intuitive, you're finding out all this information. It can just be that inner voice that supports, perhaps where you're feeling like a victim mentality, or it supports, well, actually, of course the world is against you, of course you can't do this. So, so it can be both a supportive and also quite bullying energy. It also, you don't want something like that then informing your decisions in some ways, and doing it in a way that's not conscious. You want to be able to be conscious and know how you're making your decisions. So this is why it's important to be aware of what you are and what is not you, because then you can work on something in quicker. But a lot of people with attachments tend to be, it starts off with them thinking that this is maybe a spiritual attachment. Oh, this is like, you can feel like it's a soulmate vibe. can feel like, oh look, I'm getting all of this information of past life, because obviously attachments have to be brought. You can have you can have issues from the past lives, but it actually would have to be re-established here. You could feel like, oh look, I've got this entity and it's amazing and knows all this stuff, because usually they give you enough stuff so you feel special. And also they can just be a feeling of comfort, because this is why it tends to be with people who are feeling lost, feeling a void, because you are feeling like you're missing something, and it comes along and feels like it's filling that for you, and therefore it gives you this sense of feeling a little bit more full and that can help you feel a little bit more comfortable, because you're not thinking about what you don't have as much. So that is where we talk about consent. It might be the fact that even though you're getting all this information coming through, so it must be really intelligent and you feel like you're special, and then you have that feeling of feeling a little bit more, I don't want to say complete, because it's a false feeling, but actually it feels like that void is filled. So if you've been feeling lost, then it can help you feel that you actually are supported. It can help you feel more spiritual, mystical, and all these things, which it doesn't in the end, because that's a false sense, but it will mimic that, and you will at the beginning feel like you have your intuition is going, it will feel like a really good connection, and it's maybe good for you, but you will feel that usually what happens is it will connect to your lower chakras as well, usually the solar plexus, because that's where it's the I am, it's the will, it's the mental subtle body, so it will want to draw energy off your solar plexus, and it will also usually connect to, so it does, this is why I talked about vulnerable, because it's easier to tap in if there's untreated trauma, because that's where it's going for, to get what it wants to, and it just nudges it, and then it goes, oh look, I can help you with it. So again, it's not very nice, but as I said, because you are consenting at some level, there has to be an understanding that one of those steps to healing and to getting rid of it is to actually be ready to let go of it. And if you are even in a bad situation, but in a situation that gives you comfort because you know it is a repeating pattern, or it feels comfortable because you've been in it for so long, then letting that go of something you know, however bad, can feel really hard. Acknowledging it and letting go. So it has to be consent, it has to be a real consent, not just I want, no, I don't want to feel like this, I don't want this. It has to be very firm, and you have to be ready to kind of banish it and get rid of it. And so consent is always going to be the first thing, and it is always going to be the thing of I don't want it anymore, and to enforce that. Some people need help through the process. If you're working as a healer, you have to understand when you see somebody with attachment, doesn't mean you can go in and remove that attachment. It has to be something they consent to, because the thing is, you can't really remove it permanently if they don't want it. You can let them have the free space and understand that they have something that's perhaps not right for them, but they have to make that decision pretty consciously. And also you shouldn't be, it's about ethics, you shouldn't be messing around with people's energies who have not given you consent. So hopefully in the next video I'll do a little bit more about how you get rid of the energy. So let me know what you thought about this video and what questions it brings up.